Welcome to What a Creep, the show with Margot Donoghue and Sonia Mansfield, talking about creeps from the past to the present.
This is your quick guide to the biggest creeps, jerks, assholes, and losers, the best of the worst.
From two nice ladies who want the world to be a little less creepy. Welcome back to What a Creep. This is Margot Donoghue, and usually my cohort in creepitude is the amazing Sonia Mansfield, but she is in LA, La La Land, on business. But fear not, we have somebody fabulous taking her place today, just for today. It's a fantastic podcast called Fixing Famous People. I've been lucky enough to be on that show. I'm completely obsessed with it. And we have one of the fabulous guys from the show, Chris DeRosa. Hello, Chris.
Hi, Margot. We desperately want you back, by the way. Whenever you're ready, we desperately want you back. So I think we're cooking something up with you very, very soon.
I'm never short of opinions, and I've worked in crisis communications, so it's sort of like my sweet spot.
A perfect job for you.
It is the perfect job for me. So can you talk a little bit about your show, how it came together and how you two know each other and that kind of thing?
Well, Dominic, way longer than I, we're both television producers in the reality and unscripted world. And Dominic says this, and I never knew this, but basically he always said that people would say there's this young producer that's coming up that reminds us so much of you. And his name is Chris DeRosa, which is so funny because he had heard of me a lot before, and I had known his husband, and then I had met him way when I was a PA, way back 10 years ago, and we had known each other, and then we have a lot of mutual friends, and one of his really good friends became my mentor, and I worked with a lot, and so we worked on this web series together for our friend Tom Chacho, and we ended up acting in that together, so we really knew each other, and around 2021, around 2022, I would end of year 2022. He always does a Christmas holiday show. You came this year.
Yes, I did.
And it's kind of Yearly Departed on Amazon, where they talk about everything that happened this year. Mm-hmm. It's like that, but better. And with songs and jokes. And we went to his holiday show. That would have been 2022 Christmas. And afterwards, I had been talking to my friend Kate Casey. I wanted to do a new podcast. I wanted to be back in the game. I really wanted to do something. And I kind of had an idea on her show about talking to celebrities and telling them what they should do. And after Dominic's show, I was like, he would be the perfect co-host for this. He's so funny. And I reached out to him and was like, would you want to do this? He was like, let's do it. I'm ready. And then we just started, and we launched in March of last year, and we're coming up on our 1-year anniversary.
And I know I was on the episode where we talked about Jimmy Fallon.
Yes.
Had thoughts about him. Recently you did one on Angelina and Brad. And
yes.
By the way, I don't know if you heard the news, but today that Brad's new girlfriend is living with him now.
No.
Yeah.
I swear there's a weird karma in the air, because every time we do an episode on someone, it's that day or the day before or the day after, there's some news story about them. I don't know if that's because everyone listens to my podcast, LOL, haha, or I don't know what it is, but basically we will talk, we picked Brad and Angelina, or something a little bit more timely might be think about when the Gwyneth Paltrow ski trial was happening, we did we waited for it to be done, and then we did a whole episode about Gwyneth Paltrow. How does she how does she bounce back from all this PR that she got? And we have a guest on, we talk about it, and Dominic and I will each pitch an idea, or how they're going to get out of this PR, how they're going to revamp their image, and then the guest, aka you, get to pick whose pitch you think is better. And that's kind of the gist of the show. And we do hot topics at the beginning, where we just kind of, after Wendy, you know what I mean? Just run through the hot topics of what's going on in the world. Everything Britney Spears is doing. We have a whole segment called Britney Watch that we are weekly reporting on whatever Britney's doing, etc. And that's the show. But yeah, it's wild to jump in and kind of get in the water, to go back. There's episodes we do that are less like Angelina and Brad aren't at each other's they're not at each other's throats
that we know
right now. You know what I mean? But there's no legal dealings going down in the press right now. But to go back and walk through their careers together is actually really fun. And I think a lot of people actually respond to some of our more legacy evergreen episodes that aren't Lizzo's being sued. Like, talk about it. You know what I mean? Like, some of our ones that are like, let's go through this person's career. Like, people really like those as well. So that's the show.
The thing about Brad and the people don't remember just how famous Jennifer Aniston was, and that she was totally equal to Brad Pitt.
100%.
I mean, she was a catch for him.
I mean, not
thought.
for nothing. She still kind of is, even though she doesn't like, even if she's not acting and stuff, like she still is a huge, like one of the biggest celebrities in my opinion.
She doesn't age either. Like whatever she gets done,
yes,
it's spotless.
Like eating souls, like truly, like it is. She looks so beautiful. Like it's crazy.
And when they broke up, it was a big deal.
It was huge. It was the biggest deal in the whole world.
I was working at Condé Nast at the time, and W Magazine had this whole spread where it's Brad and Angelina pretending they're a family, like from 1960 with all the kids and all that stuff. I got to see all those before they hit the print. Like I was, and people were just like, this is such a middle finger to Jennifer Aniston that these pictures, crazy. It was wild because they seemed so happy.
I mean, never forget those photos. Also, never forget, and I bring it up the whole time on the episode about Brad and Angelina, never, ever, ever forget that Angelina Jolie was making out with her brother who looked exactly like her on the red carpet. Period. Done. Hello. Goodbye.
Also, never, ever forget, Billy Bob Thornton was married when he took up with Laura Dern.
Yeah.
So for her to then be like, what? He left me?
Yeah.
And that was his like fourth or fifth marriage.
Yeah. The whole, the vial of blood, like Megan Fox could never, like the whole thing. Like it's, and I'm not gonna lie, like I had forgotten that she had made out with her brother on the red carpet. Like I had forgotten that. So like that we're bringing up the old stuff. And we've had people even write in being like, can I come on and do a bonus episode and like bring up all the things that you didn't mention about these people in this episode? And I'm like, sure. Like, sounds good to me.
I'll listen. Yeah, obviously.
So
you've worked in reality TV, unscripted TV. Can you talk just a little bit about what it's like to work in that space? Like, you know, for somebody like me that like indulges in Bravo, and I used to love 90 Day Fiance, you know, VH1 was like my jam for a while. All those shows, Rock of Love, R.I.P. to that show. I mean, things like that.
I know. Flavor of Love, never forget ever. I Love New York. I Love New York is like the best thing in the whole world. But anyway, I grew up watching those exact shows like Rock of Love, Flavor of Love, The Real World. I grew up in like Amish country, Pennsylvania. So like to see an out gay person on TV, that was on MTV. Like that was the Road Rules, the challenge. You know what I mean? Like watching The Real World, like watching things like that. That really was my window to the outside world. And I always loved working. Like I always loved creating stories and being a storyteller. I look back now and like my friends and I, instead of like going outside and like playing basketball, we would like sit in my house and I had my dad's like Sony Handycam and I would like push record and then push stop. Like, and we would do like The Real World and we had like confessionals and we had like the intro where all the people had different lines and we had all this, like we were always like shooting reality television even when we weren't.
How often I say true story and that's from season 2, LA.
Yes.
Real World. Yes.
Yes. Like it's so we like I always wanted to do it. It's funny because then like when I went to college for it, I never even like made that connection. But years later, I was like, oh, we really always did make some weird story up that we like would then record and somewhat edit. Like although it was editing through like clicking like record and stop and like being like, okay, do this. And then like if it was bad, we'd like rewind it and like record over it. But like that really was, you know, that was what I did. And so I started on a show called Iron Chef America. Maybe you've heard of it for Food Network. I was a PA, like didn't know anything. And I, from there, worked on shows like Chopped. I worked on a show for Food Network called The Kitchen, which is like still on today. Chopped is still on today. A show called Beat Bobby Flay, which I still produce on today, off and on.
He was one of our episodes.
Oh, really?
Yes. A wink. Yep.
We did, hold on. And then I started working on The Real Housewives of New York. I did that for 4 seasons off and on, like over the years. I worked on I most recently worked on Real Housewives of New Jersey. I've done Ultimate Girls Trip. I've done all kinds of reality, like a show called My Unorthodox Life for Netflix.
Wow.
a show called Snack versus Chef for Netflix. Bethany's the Big Shot with Bethany on Max. All kinds of different shows. A bunch, almost. I think I've done something in every single genre of unscripted television. Basically, I did a dating show called Date Night Live that was on Lifetime.
Oh my goodness, I remember that.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I was sad that got canceled. It was a lot of work and really hard, but it was finally gaining momentum and people were really watching it, and then they canceled it. It was so sad. But I kept going. I mean, I've just worked in it ever since, honestly.
Do you feel like there's more respect now for reality TV than there was like 20 years ago?
Yes and no. I mean, Chelsea Devantez just put up an episode on her podcast called Glamorous Trash about how like there's no TV shows that are scripted that have the ensemble women casts that live these lives like Housewives or shows like, and talked a lot. And I've talked with her a lot about like how like basically like we were trying to recreate Sex in the City and Desperate Housewives on Real Housewives. And now like when you get to Big Little Lies, like the director was telling them to watch Real Housewives of Orange County to like emulate those people. Like imagine Nicole Kidman like bopping on like Tamra, Vicky, and you know what, Jesus Jugs, what's her name?
Jesus Jugs, yes.
Like, do you know what I mean? Imagine her watching like Gretchen and like Shannon Bedore and like Tamra and Vicky and our girls, like Heather Dubrow. Like that was their source material for like what they like were emulating in one of the biggest TV moments to ever happen in our lifetime. Do you know what I mean? That was like a cultural phenomenon.
And they also, I mean, they're also like huge movie stars like Jennifer Lawrence and Sarah Paulson that love
it.
Yeah.
Love it. John Hamm.
Yes.
John Hamm watches Real Housewives of New York and New Jersey.
The Hamaconda. Yep.
Yeah. Like the Hamma, how dare you? The Hamaconda dying. But no, it's funny because regardless of all of that, it's still deemed as trash television, and much of it is. But like it still doesn't have the prestige at all that like it could, I think. But also, who cares? Whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, what do you think of this? I mean, I'm really obsessed with all of the Real Housewives, but of course Beverly Hills, because that's on right now. And there was the documentary on Hulu. There was the second part of the Erica Jane story being told. And I just wanted to know your thoughts about it. We've talked about her on this show.
She, like, good move on her to go and sit with those people. I'm not going to lie to you. I was like, that's really good. And she's really, really good at, despite what you saw on the last season of Beverly Hills, to admit that she doesn't know something. Do you know what I mean? When they said, do you even know what happened to us? And she says, quite frankly, I don't. Like her delivery of that was stellar. Like she really is doing a masterclass of like how to take it on the chin without looking like an asshole in that Housewife and the Hustler Part 2. I'm not going to lie to you.
No, I agree. And it's funny that
like it was pretty good. And she was like, I will be here. I will let you do what you must. And I will be respectful. And like, it was, I was surprised.
She wasn't as defensive as she was on her show. And I think that made the difference.
Yeah, I think so is right. And I think too, it's like on Housewives, it's your friends that you're assuming would be backing you up, not I'm going into the lion's den of these people that have like an axe to grind for me on purpose. Do you know what I mean? It might be the surprise of like, you're supposed to be my friend and back me up and like have my back in this. Even on the current season, she's like upset that they're not more happy for her, which I get in her world, but then I also see where they are like, I'm not touching this with a 10-foot pole. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, but I see that there still now, she's like, I wanted them to say, you know what, you were right. I think that really actually legitimately, like, that wasn't just a TV, oh, I'm mad. I think she really was like, wow, they really don't. They still think I stole these earrings. You know what I mean?
I think it was more of just the lack of compassion for what people been through. And so, and I think like, if you're going to be really mad, be mad at Tom and all those judges and people that enabled him over these years.
Well, I mean, this part 2 really shows you that like, this was not, he pocketed some, this was like systematic fraud. Like it is so much worse than originally we're like, oh, he took some settlement money and it was bad. And not that it wasn't terrible and absolutely like atrocious in every single way, but like it wasn't an isolated few incidents where he needed to like pay his debts. It was like systematic abuse. Like it,
Yeah.
wow. Wow, wee, wow. I'll
Wow,
say
wow,
that.
wow, wow. Right. Like the judges
Yeah.
that were in on it and it's
Yep.
all this stuff. This it helps me pivot because when I was working in crisis communications, we used to say, what would you do with this person? They have a bad PR image. And one thing we used to say, just shooting the shit with each other, would be like, go on Saturday Night Live and make fun of yourself.
100%. It's always the best thing. Like whether it be a nowadays, like a podcast, whatever,
Yes.
it's like just take the joke, like joke about the joke that everyone's making fun of you for and be in on it. And you immediately will do. And it's like, you could be a terrible person. And it could
Absolutely, you
still-
can.
It is still that medicine that like, just dissolves everything.
Like Nikki Haley was just on a few weeks ago on Saturday Night Live, and it's just after she said some terrible things about Barack Obama causing racism to come back into fashion. Because it's Shane Gillis, who's a comedian that was going to be on the show, Saturday Night Live, I'm talking about now, and they did not, they picked him, and then they, of course, you find out the old tweets and the podcast stuff, and he said racist things about Asian people, sexist things, and so
And that was like not even old tweets. That was like 2 weeks before, right?
Yes.
Wasn't that like the month before?
right.
Yeah.
It's not like I
It's
was
good.
19 and an asshole in college.
It's no, of course.
You know.
Like it's good to know that like not scripted and much more quote unquote elevated television also doesn't do the necessary background checks that a reality shows often
Yes.
does. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
I'm glad that made me feel good, honestly, because I was like, okay, so like it's everyone. Okay, got it.
Everyone has that issue.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about? I mean, SNL,
it's funny that SNL is just like becoming like an alt-right situation. That's
Right.
hilarious to me. It makes no sense, but also who are the people that are sitting home on a Saturday night watching TV? It's middle America. Like
yeah.
on a Saturday at 11:30 on a Saturday night, if I'm still awake, I'm out partying. Like you know what I mean? And I'm when I say partying, I mean like having one martini
And then going home to
with
bed.
my friends at a bar and then going to bed. But like regardless, I'm out and I'm having a time.
Well, they've also just
So-
changed the show to just be all about segments. You can send on TikTok and Twitter and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
Yeah.
become
For sure. There's a few skits that still push through, but like it's not what it used to be in the sense of like, oh my God, did you see SNL last night? Like everyone's talking about it at the water cooler. Like most of it is not that. It really doesn't have that anymore, which is kind of sad.
which is like Ashley Simpson when she forgot.
I mean, never
Forget.
forget.
And I actually met her when she first produced her album. I was with another magazine, YM magazine.
Okay, you know that the Ashley Simpson show like had me in a literal chokehold.
Really?
Like the Ashley Simpson show on MTV, me and all my friends were like masturbating to. Like it was like the best because it was like after Newlyweds, because Newlyweds was like our shit. Like I was like 12 when the Newlyweds came out. My mom and I were like rabid to watch it, loved it. Like just today, I shared she did some Chicken of the Sea commercial with her daughter, which is hilarious. Where she's like, "Okay, I know that this says Chicken of the Sea, but it is tuna." And the daughter's like, "Who would ever?" Like, it was actually perfect.
That's what
and
you
she
do.
looks great. Remember when she was looking crazy a little bit ago?
I
She
mean,
looked great.
the mom jeans.
No, she looked
and-
great.
Yeah.
She looked great. She looked great. And she like never forget. And then when it was like now the Ashley Simpson show with their weird dad, who back then I was like, look at this fucking, you know what,
Yeah.
gay man like on screen pretending to be married to this woman. And then they were like, no, he's Southern. I was like, sure. Fast forward
Sure,
20
Jen.
years, which is like leaving the wife to fly to New York to have sex with an 18-year-old boy. Anyway, that's a whole episode in itself. Have you talked about him?
No, we should actually. I should write that down.
You should write that down because that's whole episode right there for you. You're welcome.
She was-
but the Ashley Simpson show was like,
Oh, yeah,
well,
they
she
were-
was with Ryan Cabrera. The album was coming out. It was like before like era, like all this shit where they have to like craft their album coming out shit now, which like it's too much now. Like that was for us pre-teens addicted to MTV. We were like, that was our Eras tour. Was like Ashley Simpson doing this small tour on TV and then the album coming out and us all listening to it. We loved it.
I loved it that She's actually very sweet, and her mom was really, really nice. But she was like, it's a luncheon, and we were giving her an award, and she was like over an hour late, and then she took another hour to get ready, and like another, and was nice, but just had her shit everywhere. It was just like she was on the show, just kind of like flaky McFlake pants.
Oof.
Well, let's get into. I wanted to talk today about. We talked about when I was on your show that there's episodes that y'all said you will never cover or people you'll never fix.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, we have our list too, but I bet they're conflicting in some sort of way. So,
Or I think there's a few that are aligned.
ooh, all right. Well, let me bring up. So I'll bring up my first one if you're okay with that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Lead me through yours. I'll comment and then I'll give you some additional.
Excellent. Okay, so this is Margot and Sonia's top 5. Never will we ever, and that's sort of a wink and a nod because we do change our minds.
Yeah. Oh, with the wind will change, as you know, on our show. Yeah.
Number 1 is Charles Manson or most serial killers. Poorly stated. It's been done to death. I'm tired of giving them.
And you know what? Anymore, there's some, but like most of these true crime documentaries, I used to love them.
Yeah. I
tried to watch one that was like some guy got murdered while they were all in the house and they found his body and they called 911 or whatever. It was called like What Happened to So and whatever the guy's name was. It was on Peacock. And just like the first scene is just like a 911 call of them in like absolute distress finding his body. And I was like, I can't do this. Like, I just can't. Like, no. Like, I used to love the like murder podcasts. It really will have to take a lot for me. The like murder porn ones, I just don't. It's so, maybe because it's just I'm getting older. I don't know what it is, but like they don't do it for me anymore. It's not fun. It's not exciting like it used to. I don't know.
No, and that's why,
and it's not funny. Like we always want our podcast to be funny. We want it to be comedy. We barely talk about politics, and that's not because we don't feel for it, but like we just want it to be something where when you are done scrolling the internet for how many horrific things are happening in the world, that you can come here and like laugh about a celebrity's problems. Like, so in that same vein, I feel like I just don't. The serial killer stuff is just not. It's so not me anymore.
Yeah, and
it's
in the same way. And Manson was just like horrible to women. He was. I mean, it's just like there's nothing good to come from it. And I think it's been done so many times that there's not like that much of an original angle anymore. John Lennon, believe it or not, and you're young. Do you even know who he is? Do you know about the Beatles?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my God.
I never know when I talk to people.
No, it's okay. Dominic thinks I'm like a Gen Z, like 22-year-old every episode. And I'm like, I'm 34 years old.
Okay.
Like, I was like, I remember the time before the internet and cell phones. Like, stop. Like, it's so.
Okay, that helps.
Yes, I know who John Lennon is. Continue.
He was in the Beatles, but he was a lot of people. I know that the show that Sarah Marshall does. What's the word am I thinking of? You're Wrong About. Sorry.
Yes.
You're Wrong About did an episode on John Lennon. People kind of like there's some overlap there. People listen to that, listen to our show, and then we get a lot of like, well, I want to hear you do this version. And he was a very flawed man. There's some domestic violence in his background. He was a very angry person. And my whole thing is he was murdered at 40. He was shot to death in front of his home by a stalker. Like, whatever he had done.
Fun. Yeah, like, it's not fun.
No.
Like, it's not fun. Like, and we want to, and again, at the end of the day, it's like, ABC News can go report on like whatever the fuck they need to report on. Like, what's the funny part of this, or the part that's at least interesting culturally? Like, right. Most people that have like any kind of domestic abuse allegations, we usually stray far. Like, there's very few there's some that like we will then find out during the episode that the guests will bring up that we didn't know, and we'll like be like, oh my, ooh, like, oopsies, like, do you know what I mean? And we'll get through it. But like with our show, it's like at the end of the day, they are our client, quote unquote, that we're supposed to be like redeeming them. And most people, like Russell Brand, for example, like I'm not we talk about him a lot. I don't want to joke about about rape or, sexual assault. I don't want to joke because it's not funny. There's nothing funny about it. I don't want to redeem that person. And they don't deserve it. Do you know what I mean? So
no, we call them creeps. Like that's our whole
Yeah.
thing is we kind of rage against
exactly.
that. Right. So,
Which is why we always say you're the sister podcast of ours, because anyone that we don't talk about is usually who you are talking about.
okay. Next one, I think this should be obvious, but we also get things, anything with animal abuse. We're huge animal lovers when they talk about there's this, dog farm in the middle of nowhere and there's 100 cats living under the house and everything like that. And all experimentations and things like that. Like for us as huge animal lovers, we just can't even, it's too sad.
It's too sad. No, it's
just a big no.
No, it's not going to be fun.
And Joe Rogan and the ilk.
I mean, zero desire.
Yeah.
Really is that. That's what it is.
It's also,
this is the thing. Here we go. I don't come onto a podcast and say, I know everything and I'm going to tell you why you should do what I tell you. Like, I never am setting out to try to like tell people how they should think. I'm happy to give my opinion, but I like make it very, very important to be like, here's why I think this way, fill in the blank, because for the exact reason of just like, I feel like every straight man with a podcast that isn't like a niched podcast that is like, this is just about board games. This is just about like, I don't know, like the NFL, like, I don't know, like any sport, like whatever, like this is just about a thing. If it's just like a person talking, it's always like, here's why every person that listens to this should do exactly what I'm telling them to do. And I just don't like people like that in general. I don't like any of the, now you're really getting me on a tangent.
Oh, go for
like
it.
any of the people on TikTok that are like, I know here, I'm an expert and here's why. It's like, are you an expert or do you just have a TikTok account? Like you're an expert in what? Like I would love to say that I'm an expert in reality television. Have I been producing it for 10 years? Yes. Like, have you been cleaning your house with weird products for like a month and you're telling everyone that like, this is the best product to ever have? Like that doesn't make you an expert.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Or like I go on dates, so I'm a dating expert. Like, no. Like women file charges against me, so I'm like a dating expert. Like, no, thank you. Like, and all like Andrew Tate comes to mind. All these people that are like, here's how you need to treat women, or here's how you should do X, Y, and Z. And like, I know because I'm great. And there's like zero resume to that. Not that Joe Rogan always is doing that. And a lot of his stuff is just like talking about random shit, like whatever. Not that I've ever listened to it. So am I talking out of my ass?
Do you have 3
Yes.
hours a day to listen to it?
But
I
like,
don't.
am I admitting that I'm talking out of my ass? Yes.
Yes.
You know, like that whole world of that, I like am so not into. If you're not like, here's my resume to prove that, like minute one. Like I just ran through a bunch of shows that you all know to like prove to you that I'm a television producer, and that should like stand on its own. Not I have a podcast that's listened to by 2 million people. Do you know what I mean?
Or I read a lot on the internet, and that's why I'm so educated.
Make shit up. Like I hate all those people. Like, and that's not, I'm beating up on straight men that are like saying like you should abuse women to make them love you. But like, that could go for any walk of any person that is like, I'm an expert because I said that I am, and not like I'm an expert because I have done this for 10 years or have like, here's all the research that I've done that is legitimate, and not reading articles on the internet written by whoever the fuck.
The biggest problem with it is that the people who are the most educated aren't usually the best debaters, because they
Correct.
don't know about all the stupid shit that gets around. So they'll confront someone about like, man landed on the moon. And I was like, and then this person will go, oh no, they didn't. Can you prove this? Can you prove this? Can you prove that? Like, what are you even talking about? So they have to know all the shit to refute to get to even the good stuff.
And let's be real. Like, no one wants to change their opinion about anything, period. I don't.
Yep.
I don't. I'll say it.
Yes.
I don't. If someone is like, here are the reasons, and I believe, and I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And and like, is this real? Oh, it kind of is. Like, will I take that under advisement? Yes. Like, can I be swayed? Sure. But like, do I have to actively really go into it in an open way, ready to receive information, yes. Does anyone ever do that? No.
Also, for Sonia and I, you're in the same situation, I believe, is that we're independent people. We're not with a big company. We don't have Spotify or anybody,
No.
So it's not like you have to go through a front desk to get to wherever we are. Like, we are people out in the wild. And some of these shows, their fans are nuts. Like, just be frank, and dox people for the littlest things. And so,
I mean, how much also to like go on any news site, like real, like legitimate, like New York Times, Washington Post, like real news site on their Instagram, and like go to any story. The comments are just bots fighting with bots. Like, and then go to those people's accounts. Look, they have 0 posts. They have 30 followers and they're following 2,000 people. Like, and their picture is like a nothing, or like a color or a flower or something that's not real, a real person. And they're always private.
Yeah.
Like, truly, it's crazy that like, I don't even know where I'm going with that, but like, it's like so many people are arguing about this, and I'm like, go look and see if any of these people are real people. I'm convinced. Now here I go with conspiracy theories. Now I'm Joe Rogan. Like, I'm convinced that they just pay for bots to like fight in the comments so that they can get like views.
yeah,
like,
well,
for
leads
real.
us to Johnny Depp, which I talked about next. We did an episode on him, and we had to take it down in a couple of days because of all the bots that came out for us. And I'm convinced also, my lizard brain, I call it, like I just go, I bet you they bought, bots, like thousands of
100%.
them. And they just scour the internet and just say, Johnny Depp is
100.
amazing and he's a victim and blah. And it's like, once again, life is short. I can't even.
100. I will say something about this, regardless of what you believe, and regardless if he has been found innocent in a court of law as far as I know. And so we have to take that into advisement, or like whatever, like dismissed, trial, whatever the fuck. Like, regardless of that, I have it on extremely amazing authority that case has set the precedent for people to make it exponentially harder for people to come forward with their stories. I will not say anything more, but like, no. And like, any of your friends that are in legal world, like, ask them about it, because that case has set a precedent that is extremely, extremely dangerous. And even if he is the nicest person in the whole world, and again, this could be her fault as well, but like, even if he is the nicest person alive and it is complete, utter bullshit, that case itself set a precedent that is extremely dangerous.
I think it'll be overturned.
Do you think so? I
someday.
I was working on a show and was really shooting like heavily, so was so out of the loop of them.
Oh, you're lucky.
And so I really didn't absorb it like at all. And so I feel that I would have more to say, but I just simply do know that like multiple people have told me that it is like actually very
well. His
yeah.
good friend Marilyn Manson was using the same tactics.
Sure. Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, brother.
Yeah. So, do you have any you want to share with me?
Our top of the list is like Kanye West.
Yes.
Like, it's hard when there's mental illness involved, when there's like outright straight up racism that's overt and insane, like that's obvious. Like, I don't need to explain why that's a no. When there's like clear mental illness, that's always like a case by case. Like, did we talk about Britney Spears? Absolutely. Like, what do you mean? Like, do we talk about Britney Spears every day? Do we make fun of her dancing with knives? Sure. But then like in our episode, like, did we talk about the fact that she was on lithium when she didn't need to be on it forever? Yes. Like, it's a case by case thing, but like, there's so many times when it's like, this person's going insane. And it's like, that's not funny. Like, that's scary and sad. And so like, we've been toying with doing Amanda Bynes, but we know that it's very like, we have to come from it in the right way, which I think that we will. But it's like, I don't want to make fun of her, like in the way that like, oh, she's crazy. And like, am I going to make fun of her? Am I going to make fun of her for saying, I want Drake to murder my vagina, and how we all love that tweet? Like, yes, that's hilarious. Like, am I going to say that she got a tattoo of a heart on her face and it looks terrible and I make fun of her for it? No. Am I going to say that that's concerning? Yes. You know, it's hard. She's someone that we've been toying with. Like, Kanye never. Army Hammer, as much as all I wanted to do was talk about how he's a cannibal. No, I can't. Like,
we did an episode.
Yeah. Like, see, again, as we said on our podcast, like, whoever's like whoever like we are like excluding, you guys are usually reporting on. So it's like if you can't find it here, like go to What a Creep. That's what we tell everyone.
Amanda Bynes also, I'm sorry, it drove me crazy on The Soup when they used to make fun of her for her stuff. You remember that was on E? It was
yes,
yeah.
with Joel McHale.
Yes, I used to make me nuts because it's like obviously she was struggling and obviously there was something, and also she's from the Nickelodeon farm, which is that's a whole other.
Jonah Hill was in that thing with like that girl that was releasing all that stuff. People were like rabid for us to talk about him, and it was like, no, this is like, I don't like this. Like, I don't want, like, again, like I want to talk about the Goop trial. Like, we're talking about Gwyneth like rising above after that man tried to say that she tried to kill him on skis. Like, that's like the funny ridiculousness. Like, talking about, I mean, like Britney's book was a big deal, so we like talked all about that. Like, I mean, like talking about like when Selena Gomez and Hailey Bieber were fighting on Instagram and stuff, like that was fun. Like when we were talking about, that's my lane. You know what I mean? Talking about Ellen's career and how she like now has disappeared from the world because Dakota Johnson like destroyed her in like one inning. Like that's fun. You know what I mean? And then will we talk about the things that people have alleged on that set? Yes. But like, am I making comedy out of that? No,
Right.
Which it's hard to, you talk about these things, but you want to make sure that you're one, respectful. Mm-hmm. B, are we going to make up funny jokes and laugh about it? Yes. But then are we then going to turn back to like, but here's the bad things, like the Lizzo lawsuit, like something where it was like, some of these claims are insane. Like, dare I say, bananas, wink, wink. Like, but then like also too, it's like, no, this is you are a boss. Like you are the employer and these are your employees. Like your dancers are not your friends, as I said.
Right.
And I said every celebrity needs to put like every pop star needs on their forehead written it backwards. So when they look in the mirror, it says dancers are not your friends. Like never forget Taylor Swift and Katy Perry getting into it because of dancers. You know what I mean?
Right.
That, by the way, Taylor Swift fired all of them because they were jumping off her tour to go to Katy Perry's tour.
How long ago was that? That was like 10 years ago or?
I want to say like 7-ish years ago.
Yeah.
But Katy Perry told the whole story in Carpool Karaoke. So like, I'm not making this up. She basically confirmed it.
When is she going to come out with an album?
She like said that she is, but who cares? She's I'm so done with her.
Yeah. I used to love her too. And then I don't know.
She like had her thing, but I don't know. I'm trying to think of who else is like on our list. We haven't. So in our Patreon, we did do an episode called the Unfixables. That is, if you want to sign up for the $20 Long Island iced tea tier, that is the top tier. Like you can hear an entire episode of why we don't want to fix any of these people, and we talk about them a little bit. That just came out, so that is available to you. And it's funny that you bring this up, like who we won't fix, because it's like we just did an episode on it, so I have them like kind of fresh in the mind. But it's hard, and like when people really want to hear your opinion of something, but then I'm like, but also I need this to be funny. Like,
right,
this isn't Dateline. Like as much as everyone wants it to be, it's hard. Yeah,
it's hard to be everything to everybody. Yeah, and stay true to your vision, because you are going to disappoint people sometimes, and that can.
Yeah, you always do. We did an episode about Playboy, and a lot of people wrote in being like, "You skipped over like so many terrible things that happened in the mansion," and I'm like, I'm not here to talk about what happened in the mansion. Like, I'm here to talk about like the brand today and like how that they can move forward. Like, I talk about how there's 9,000 shows that told me all about like what happened in the mansion and that it was terrible, and even reference some of them, but like. I'm not here to do that all again. You can go watch a 12-part docuseries about the Playboy murders.
We also did an episode on it.
Yeah. So it's like, again, go to What a Creep. But like, I'm here to be like, what can Playboy do now to like have me pay attention to them again?
And we also have that on our Patreon wall, I think, now, because those in our first 8 seasons. Do you have anybody else you want to put out there? Or
like a lot of people ask us, Kanye West, Johnny Depp, Armie Hammer, Russell Brand. We tried to do a few on like Elon Musk, etc., like that world, and they just they're always doing something ridiculous. So by the time the episode comes out, it's like late and stale. It's like they're already moved on to something else ridiculous. So it's
that is the problem with Musk. He just keeps topping himself.
Oh, and every day
in his
we did a whole
awfulness.
episode about. We did a whole episode about Twitter and like it changing to X, and like it was really funny and a whole thing. And then the next day, and it wasn't going to come out for like a week and a half. The next day, he like steps down and introduces that woman to be like the head of it. And I was like, okay, well that's in the garbage. You know what I mean? It's like hard.
And then 3 months later, she does an interview and she has a terrible job. I mean, this is your CEO. It's astonishing.
It's wild. Everyone is just doing their best, and sometimes their best is terrible.
Sometimes it's just not good enough, as the song goes. A song you probably don't even know because you're very young. Anyway. Yes, well, I want to say thank you so much for, giving me your time, giving us your time, giving us a chance to chat. I know a lot of our listeners love your show, and so they'll be really psyched to hear your voice here.
Thank you for having me. This has been great. I will talk. I mean, please, I'll come on here and trash whoever you want. Like I'm down. Like in this medium, I'm good to go. You know what I mean? Like but it's hard because you guys don't have to then like make them be good again at the end of the episode.
Yeah, some of them are irredeemable. I mean,
yeah, which they are 100%. And then, and I'll tease this a little bit as like an episode I want to do in the future is like the Invincibles. Like that's another thing is like people that no matter what they do, we don't care and we love them.
Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt is one of those people. Mariah Carey is one of those people.
Prince, R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P. Bless up. In my opinion, Naomi Campbell is one of those people.
You know what?
Despite like actual
awful
real
stuff,
like
yes,
criminal behavior that she had to atone for publicly, like still is loved by everyone in the world because she's so beautiful. There's like a whole nother side of the coin that I call the Invincibles, which I think is like a whole nother area to delve into of like, no matter what these people do, I feel like you guys do a lot of those people that it's like, here's all the terrible things they've done. And like, no one knows.
There's
about
no
this
cancel culture there's no cancel culture. And then we get all the right wing, those people that come after us. Like, what are you even talking about? I'm like, Dave Chappelle just won another Grammy, a few weeks ago. Louis C.K. has as much money as he ever did. He tours constantly. Like, who are you even? Donald Trump is running for president. I mean, yes.
Yeah.
We get out of rage.
No, there's the Invincibles. They're there.
Mm-hmm. Well, can you give us your call outs? Where can people find you?
Oh, you guys can find the podcast. It's called Fixing Famous People. Anywhere you find podcasts. My Instagram is at the Chris DeRosa, and the show's Instagram is at Fixing Famous People. You can find all of our links there, or just at the link in my bio. You can find everything. You can find Margot's episode, and hopefully you're going to find another one of hers very soon.
And you could follow us on all social media at What a Creep Podcast. Our email is whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. Please send us your ideas for creeps and for non-creeps. We always end the show with someone who's not a creep. So we do try to elevate in the end. Now, let me tell you something, Chris. Sometimes that's the hardest part, finding the non-creep.
Oh, who's not a creep?
I think.
Who are you going to say?
Well, I think Henry Winkler is a big one for me. Tom Hanks, I think, seems like a nice person. I'm trying to think of a really good Dolly Parton.
Hugh Jackman.
Oh, delightful.
I love him.
Never heard a bad thing about him, by the way.
And like has always heard the best things. And I'm just like, I want him to come out so badly.
I
just want him to come out. Like now that he's getting divorced, I'm just like, please just get on the red carpet with whoever your boyfriend is. I don't think it's Anthony from Queer Eye, even though everyone says that. Like whoever he's dating, like just boom, someone age appropriate for him, like someone else hot like that, like boom on the carpet together. We would lose our minds.
Isn't he writing his autobiography?
Yeah, and I think that's when it's happening.
But I've known people in the business, people who work on film sets all over the country, all over the world. Always the nicest thing to say about Hugh Jackman.
That say he's like not that he's like the best person ever and the nicest person.
Down to earth. Yeah. He's probably our non.
Have you done an episode about Ben Affleck?
I think adjacent to Ben Affleck, or maybe in one of our Patreon bonus episodes. I'm not sure. Is he just a douchebag? I know his brother. We have done.
Cannot stand him.
Yeah.
And so I just like, if you ever need someone to complain about him for 35 minutes, let me know.
We've done an episode about his brother Casey Affleck, who, by the
his
way,
brother yeah.
and it still works. Still
Yep.
like
getting movies made,
Yep.
deals done, booked
and busy.
Yep.
Yep, same thing. I think Ben is just a douchebag. Okay, so him and J-Lo, how long do they last?
You know that I'm breathless for this movie. Like this, whatever. Like, and I say the word movie, and it is the loosest. I am using humongous skywriter air quotes when I say the word movie. I'm like, what? It is going to like shift tectonic plates in a horror. Like it is. Every interview that they write about it is like every celebrity telling her, "Why are you making this?" And then at the end, he says to her, "Like you made a movie for you. You should be proud of that." Those are the words that she has told us he has said to her about it.
Well, what about her and Ayo? That Ayo is on Saturday Night Live.
Ayo, P.S. I listen to Scam Goddess. I am a member of the congregation. I listened to it when it first came out, like that episode. And one, she's right, and two, like you know what it is though. Ayo had to learn this the hard way. And if you listen to, or if you're just on Instagram, Tina Fey went on Las Culturistas recently, and they have a segment called like, "Oh no, she did," or "No, you didn't," or whatever. And it's like they rant about something for a minute. And Tina Fey ranted to Bo and Yang saying like, "Oh no, you didn't. Like you are too famous now to have opinions of celebrities. Like you're going to run into them now and it's going to be bad. So like what happened to her is going to happen to you. So you need to shut the fuck up." And like, she's right.
She's absolutely right. And I wonder how he's going to feel about Shane Gillis being on Saturday Night Live.
Thankfully, neither of us like have any desire to be like film actors. So we're good to go.
Yeah.
I'm just speaking for myself. Feel like I can speak for you there, but like,
yeah.
I think we're good to go. But like Ayo forever, like J-Lo's whatever, like whatever.
I just like the way J-Lo was like, "Oh, she came to me crying and begging."
J-Lo was like, "Huh, what?" Like J-Lo couldn't care less and didn't even know. She was like, "Okay," like she's like, "Yeah, everyone thinks I'm an idiot." Like whatever. Like I could care less. I'm J-Lo. That's the thing that's so funny is people were probably like, "Fuck you," like blah, like screaming at her, like being terrible. J-Lo's like, "Who is that?" Like J-Lo doesn't even know who she is. Right? J-Lo's
yes.
Like, you know what I mean? J-Lo's like, "I'm J-Lo." Like everyone's like, people always say I'm an idiot. Like whatever. I don't care. I'm making a movie that no one wants to see. Like,
is it a documentary about her?
No. It is a film. It is partly animated. Are you aware of this?
No.
It is a fantasy. It's from the dreams of J-Lo. Margot.
Oh my God.
It's going to change us forever.
When is it coming out?
I think like 5 days. I don't know. It's soon.
Oh, I can't wait.
I know. I'm at the edge of my seat. I watch every trailer. It looks insane. I don't know what it is. She doesn't know what it is. No one knows what it is.
And Jane Fonda's in it?
It's like, why am I doing this?
Okay, I do know about this. Because Jane Fonda hates her.
It's so good. Not even that. They're like friends, I think. I don't even think they hate each other. Like, whatever. But she's like, "Sure, I'll be in this." But like, what is this movie? Like,
I'm going to watch the shit out of it.
I can't wait. There's I'll send you the Vanity Fair article where they're like, it's like, here's the quotes of celebrities, including her husband, that are like, "Why are you doing this?" And it's like, the movie comes out on this date. Like, it is so good. I can't wait to just lather it all over my skin and also just be watching an abject horror. Like, I can't wait. This is fun. Like J-Lo is a superstar. She's not hurting anyone with this other than maybe her career, but like not really. We love it. We're all going to be like, "This is camp. We love it." Like all the gays are going to be obsessed with it. It's going to be terrible. And that's what I love. Like that's fun. Not, "Hey, can you make this rapist like redeemable?" No.
No, as a matter of fact. Have you ever seen her in person, by the way? J-Lo?
No, is she beautiful?
I worked at Glamour Women's of the Year award a while ago, but she's stunning.
She looks
she's petite.
My friend,
she's stunning.
when she was on that show that was like, she was like a cop with Ray Liotta. All right,
sure, yeah.
Like my friend was like her like first team person that would basically bring her to set every day, and she said she was like the nicest person alive.
I've heard she's nice,
and that like they were filming in like Queens or Brooklyn, and like droves of people were like coming, like all New Yorkers, like repping their girl, were like out there. And my friend leaned over to her and said, sorry, all my fans are here. Like, oops. Like, you know what I mean? Like, sorry to do this to you. My fans are all here. And she was like dying laughing at my friend.
Well, I'm glad she has like, I think she just has standards and she just like likes things the way she likes things. And they always ask you, how do you want your dressing room? What do you want to eat? What do you, so she's like specific. I think that's part of it. But she also came from nothing and worked her ass off.
And the movie's going to be something.
Yes. I'll watch the shit out of it now. I'm going to be thinking
what
about
that is, we don't know, but is it something? Yes, it is.
It's a thing to watch. We will watch it. All right. Chris, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Again, let me know whenever you want me back.
You got it. And everybody, stay safe, be kind. Don't be a creep.
Don't do it.
Thank you for listening to us talk about creeps. You can follow us at What a Creep Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
But don't follow us too closely.
You can email us your creepy stories at whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com.
But please keep your dick pics to yourself.